Hey everybody, I was on vacation in Virginia for our last meeting, spending some time with family and going to Busch Gardens and just doing some fun things. Steve led our meeting and he talked about Romans chapter 8, verse 18. So we're kind of taking a little bit of a deviation from our progression through Romans and just having a little bit more of a topical discussion. And the topic is suffering. Suffering is a very big topic. It is a very deep topic because each person has their own suffering, and each person's suffering is deep and important. And it's wide because we all suffer in many different ways. So, trying to do a video on this big topic in 5 minutes, it's not going to do it justice, but we're at least going to talk about it a little bit. Romans 8:18 says, and this is Paul, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Paul was a person who was very qualified to talk about suffering. Read 2 Corinthians 11:23 through 33 if you're curious to see some of the things that he went through: imprisonment, beatings, etc., etc. So, if I could give a one word answer to the problem of suffering, it is trust. It's trust that God is sovereign, He's in control of everything, and also trust that God is good. Those two things. So, here's some questions that was asked at the study. What kind of present sufferings does Paul have in mind? So, you could read again 2 Corinthians 11, 23 through 33. It's physical, emotional, it's the hard things that we go through. Persecutions, if you're a believer, of course, here in America, that's pretty mild. We go through seasons of intense suffering, and then there's just the everyday grind and the everyday frustrations of work and life and family and things like that. So, number two, how can we practically live out this verse in our daily lives? Again, the verse, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. So, one answer that Steve had here was that Paul sees suffering as a necessary pathway that leads us to the revelation of God's glory. It is transformative, it shapes us into his image. So, number one, suffering is something that God uses to shape us. If you are a believer, remember Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. He uses every bit of our suffering, regardless of whether it's for persecution or just life, to shape us and to mold us into his image and to prepare us for eternity. If you're not a believer, then he might be using that suffering to try to get your attention, to say, hey, look, come to me for forgiveness, come into the family of God. The other thing is for believers that we can look forward to the joy that we have in heaven. Again, it says it's not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. We have an eternity waiting for us, and our suffering now is producing glory for us later. Suffering rarely makes sense now, and that's hard to deal with, but that's where trust comes in. It doesn't make sense that I'm going through this or that, and it seems unfair, but all things will be made right in the end. And then let's remember Revelation, uh, I think it's chapter 21, verse 4. Don't quote me on that because I forgot to write it down, but it says, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, no more mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And in James, it says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. So suffering produces for us now, and it gives us something tremendous to look forward to in eternity. And one more thing about suffering, remember the cross. If God allowed suffering in this world, he didn't do it without subjecting his own son to it, and Jesus suffered more than any human. So whatever the reason is, other than what we've talked about, because God knows much more than we do, there's a good reason for it, because Jesus himself suffered. He suffered for us, and he suffered so that he could understand the suffering that we go through. So trust that he is sovereign, and trust that he is good, and keep your eyes on Jesus and on the hope of eternity. These are the things that help me and that will help you when you're dealing with suffering that right now doesn't make any sense. So grab a hold of that, remember it, because we're all going to have suffering in our future. So you can be prepared for it with those principles. So that's it, and I will see you next time.